All right, welcome back, everyone. We are back to discuss A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, episode 2. Episode 2. With the name of it, it was a weird name for this one. It was like meat of, hold on.
Like beef stick,
Yeah,
beef
hard
jerky,
salt beef.
salt pack, and all that stuff.
Yeah, hard salt beef. All right, Jen, you first. Last week you had issues with his attractiveness. Did anything get betterly attractive of him this week?
I'm glad you brought that up. So, upon further review, I realized that the viewers did think he was attractive.
So it was just you.
They're the lead. Okay, so who knew?
Wasn't just Jen. It was. I'd love to see the polls, the comments, and the I'd love to see the exit poll numbers of those demographics.
Yeah, demographic matters. But I will say that I feel better. I feel better about episode 2. Duncan the Dumb is growing on me, and I want to make a little nod to gratuitous full frontal on a man.
Yeah, come through.
Because
come through.
And I'm thinking unnecessarily large sword, fine. Just
So that was cool though. That was cool.
Yeah, it was something. But I say start the episode off strong, and so maybe this is a theme. Maybe they will start all 6 episodes with something that's mildly grotesque, arguably, and then they'll clean it up throughout the episode. But I'll say that I love the dynamic between Dunk and Egg, and like the witty banter. It's supernatural, and it's like they actually know each other and really, really like each other, and it just makes for just a really nice on-screen presentation. So I really, 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 really appreciate that. Love the introduction of the Targaryen household. Those things were the strongest for me. Egg is he is so wise beyond his years, and I guess it would take someone really as simplistic as Duncan just to not notice.
That's one of my questions.
Just to notice, and I laugh so hard. I think that the scene where he had the cider in front of him, and Dunk is talking about something moderately profound, and Egg is flicking at the cider, saying, "There's a flea in my cider. There's a fly in my cider."
Right, I can't do this.
Yeah, I've got limits. You know what I mean? Shitty tavern, fine. Fly in the cider. I'm going back to the palace. It's just things that just someone normally just raised in a stable, just a stable hand, just would not care about. So those little small nods, I kind of appreciate the writer just kind of putting those in there. But it's better. It's better. I'm optimistic. I guess favorite scene so far from the second episode is going to be the duel, just because it gives overall purpose. He sought so hard to find someone to vouch for him, and once he finally did, that milestone is out of the way. Now let's go ahead and get to the actual point of you being here. It is to prove yourself and to prove that your pretend knight or maybe knight, his
Can you guys hear me? See me now?
Yep.
Hi.
Okay.
It's really just to kind of prove that he has a purpose, and we want to see him fulfill it at this point. So I'm happy about the second episode.
All right. What about you, Bethany?
I also enjoyed it. Couple of things for me of note. I love how well lit these episodes have been. I don't have to flip on every light in the house just to make sure I'm catching the scenes that are shot in the dark. The Targaryens showing up as a mess collectively, and how quickly Egg saw those banners and he got little. He got up out of there. He was like, oh well.
Yeah, he's
I go back to the camp,
Yeah, he's
I'll take the horse. Right. He got short real quick. And also Dunk getting the go ahead from the Targaryen brothers
Baelor.
to Baelor, and was that Maekar?
Maekar. Yep.
A hot mess. All of them a hot mess. So those are the things that I appreciated in the first episode. Oh, also too, yeah, like Jen said, maybe they're going for that slapstick gotcha moment at the beginning of the episode just to kind of keep you watching. You know, episode 1, it was explosive diarrhea behind a tree. Episode 2 is the full frontal from Sir Arlen, who actually was a knight. Was somebody actually remembered him, and that somebody happened to be a Targaryen. So that was pretty dope. I like how they, settled that real quick for us in the episode.
So this is my Scott. What did you think about episode 2 before I ask my questions on my list?
So, a couple things. A, I thought the substance of it was a lot more sober and serious. I thought the first episode was a little bit campy, and so this episode I thought was more serious and more grounded. I'm a person who traditionally hates child actors, so I have to really give a shout out to how great Egg was, because like Egg gave the actor that plays Egg gave a very sober and somber and realistic portrayal of their emotions in a way that made it seem to be real. And so I have to really shout out that actor. Particularly in the scene where Egg was talking about how small they were, and then Duncan goes, "Oh, people thought I was dumb," and then like Egg gave this. They didn't even break the fourth wall. They just were like, "Oh, I thought you were going to say something that's going to help me," and then the portrayal of it was so spot on. Like I watched it like 4 times, and when I saw it, I thought how spot on that portrayal was. It just seemed so authentic, and I don't know a condition of how well the actors relate to each other, but I do acknowledge that I really appreciated how sincere and realistic that the child actor gave that moment. So I like this episode way more than I like the first episode, because it seemed more grounded in the reality of the seriousness of the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I can't. Everybody said everything I was going to say. Well, one of my first questions is, this is the beginning of the Targaryens not having dragons. And my question is, they normally would not show up at these kind of tournaments in the previous past because it was like it was beneath them. Is it because they got a politic and move around the kingdom now because they don't have dragons to be able to basically hold everything down of their kingdom?
Well, it could be, but also to remember Daemon. We first were introduced to Daemon Targaryen at the joust when
but that was a big one. This is like a little small town.
The king's son was going to be born, so he was holding the games, right? But yeah, like Daemon actually used to get down in the tournaments. He was known to be a fearsome knight.
Daemon likes to go to the east side though. Like that's his
side quest is his middle name for sure.
The whole family don't go to the east side. Daemon is
Daemon. Our favorite Targaryen. No, not favorite Targaryen, but one of the favorites.
Yeah, so like I was looking at it because I was like, man, they wouldn't be at these small little tournaments. It's because everybody knows they don't have dragons no more. And then also I know that at this time you got to remember Dorne is now to come under the 7 kingdoms now, and that's why you have a dark-haired Targaryen, because their mother was Dornish.
Correct.
So you got all this going on. So and Dorne was this place basically nobody had ever conquered. So it was like, we need their firepower. So the Targaryens are they're getting more political instead of like using the dragons as their main force in this. And you got different styles of Targaryen. You got a dark hair one and their brothers.
You know what's interesting about you saying that? Speaking of when Daemon first made his first appearance, so Kristen Cole, he was Dornish.
Kristen Cole, we call him.
He was Dornish too. You know, so it's so like thinking about like how closely those two houses are just connected just throughout their history. That's interesting. I never thought about it from that perspective.
Yeah, they just all these, it's all incestuous, you know. And then we find out with Magor that the egg is his son. That's who he's looking for. So, and that's the weirdest thing of like, you just not looking for a 9-year-old. Y'all are not like frantically looking for an 8-9-year-old like that's been gone. Y'all like, yeah, we'll just find them. Like, what?
And also remember when
So how old is Egg? So how
like
old do we think Egg is?
He's 9.
No. I get in the book that's how old he is. But I'm saying that, do we think that the story, the TV show, has him at the same age?
He's a preteen. He's not no more than 12 at the max.
Gotcha.
He's still too young to be just you not being like super concerned like where he could be at. Because even Dunk was like, I hope he's not dead. Like
I'll say that the other thing I've kind of meant to mention was Dunk walking through the crowd, walking to like the gate where they were going to do the joust. They I guess they may have found hundreds of actors that were maybe, I don't know, 5'10" and shorter, because you made a note of like seeing everyone like the exact same age, the exact same height just throughout the crowd, and then Dunk is like this much taller than them. Like when you rewatch the episode, and not that 6'5" is not that tall, but just like when you rewatch the episode, no, everyone is literally the same height, just kind of walking through the crowd.
Okay. So one thing we have to give for anyone who watches this is how high my sister is. Because she's 5'11", I'm 6'7", our mother is 6'2", our father was 6'4". So she does not process height the same way that most people process height.
That I do, right? And I'm 5'2" and some change. So no, I would not have noticed that, because tall people is what I see every day. In these
you remember this medieval times too, like the average height is probably like 5'4". So like he looks monstrous more than most people in general, 6'5".
And I kid you not, we had a whole conversation about this. It goes, someone who's 6'5" does not worry about hitting their head on things all the time like that, because that's not a thing you do at that height.
What I said was, and it took me maybe till after we recorded to really put it into words, but I said that what bothered me was seemingly Dunk's, it was like the writer's interpretation of what it would be like to be tall. So like the hitting your head on, that is a short man's perspective of what in his mind, what it must feel like to be 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". Because in reality, people that are that tall understand how to pass through thresholds without like slapping their head against concrete walls. Like, I think that
he would not have hit his head twice. Maybe once, never twice. He would not have hit his head twice.
He was 6'11" in the books though. So I mean,
okay.
So the character is supposed to be even bigger. Like think of like the mountain, almost like
who wielded a 6-foot broadsword. Okay, for perspective, the mountain's broadsword was 6 feet long. That's crazy. That's how big he was.
Yeah, I like it.
But that only makes it worse, because like I live in St. Louis City, and I have to duck when I walk down to the basements of every house in the city, and I'm not 6'11". So he would not have hit his head twice on the same fucking thing within an hour.
He would have known. He would have known, like, okay, I need to get down on this one. Like,
exactly.
The other thing I was worried about Egg being seen when he was on top of his shoulders.
I did too.
I'm like, how do they not see this little bald head kid that they're supposedly looking for, like directly across from them? I was so worried they was gonna be.
I wonder if Egg
but they're looking for Targaryen hair though.
Yeah, he cut his hair.
Like really, no Targaryen has ever shaved their head. So it was like the perfect disguise, because Targaryens are known for their hair, and no Targaryen shaves their head.
So why would that little bald-headed kid be the kid we're looking for?
In his head. He cancer kid in his head.
I mean, I get that, but I've got an 11-year-old, and I think that if Grant cut all his hair off, I still know it was him from across.
Listen, I grew up with a whole sister, and to this day, I have to remember what she has on, because she will pass by me in a crowd. So no, I'm not going with that. That's your whole son. No. I gotta remember what my sister has on. But nobody was looking for a bald-headed kid. That's it.
Also, Jennifer, I've known you for the entirety of your life, and if you had turned your camera off, I couldn't tell you what color your hair was. I've known you.
That is tragic. Awful. Boo.
He said I couldn't tell you what color your hair was.
I choose not to reply.
Good for you. That's growth. That is growth.
So what do you all think about the other Targaryens that were showing up in the Kingsguard and those individuals that showed up and how they were interacting with Dunk? Particularly Aerion Targaryen, which was the one that was kind of like, she kept on saying to him like, hey man, go and put my horse up. Okay, that's cool. Okay, well show me where to eat at. Like, I don't do none of that stuff.
Yeah, you're a servant of some kind. Just explain to me which one you are so I can give you proper direction.
Mhm.
That's all. Yeah, he seemed like kind of the wasn't he the one that ended up wandering off? Weren't they looking for him too? No? Did I get him confused with another one? Okay, it was only a 30-minute episode. B, get it together.
No.
I'll say that maybe from a development perspective, the interaction he had with the son of the crabber, who was a member of the Kingsguard, and Dunk goes, if you don't mind me asking, how does the son of a crabber become a member of the Kingsguard? He goes, the same way my father became a crabber. And later he talks to Egg, and Egg goes,
yeah, he's a maritime king.
He's the largest crabber in all of Westeros.
Right.
Like, I think in that moment, because Duncan maybe had a little bit of hope that someone that was low-born was able to like work their way up through the ranks, but in reality is so highly guarded in nepotism that Dunk, you have no chance of it. So just don't even like aspire to be at that level. So, I just
end it right now, buddy. It's over for you.
Yeah,
pack it in, go home. Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't not from so humble beginnings, right?
Correct.
But that kind of all shucks is a different kind of all shucks than Dunk exhibits, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm aware of who I am and what I can lay claim to and what I'm heir to. But yeah, Kingsguard is my profession of choice. It's an honorable thing to be a member of the Kingsguard.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and that's kind of the easiest way to be able to get some station, but you have to have a vow of chastity now too. So there that goes. You can't have any kids.
Except for Sir Christian was out here banging the queen. I mean, it just depends on who's in charge at the Kingsguard. Yeah.
Like, who's running the king? Who's running the Kingsguard? It depends.
Well, when Damon's running it,
Damon's got everybody on the east side.
there's leeway. There's leeway. Okay.
And that wasn't even the Kingsguard. That was the city guard.
That was the white cloaks. The white cloaks, yeah.
He was running the city guard. He was running the city.
Or the gold cloaks, yeah.
The gold cloaks running the city. Yeah. So with Dunk, do you think that Dunk is now feeling like he's a kind of a part of this knighthood yet? With him being brought into the tug of war with Baratheon, and even though it was funny, that scene was funny with the Baratheon was like he literally just left the thing to go drink. And it said,
I love that. That was one of my favorite parts. Was the tug of war scene. It's just like I said, you forget that this is actually a time of relative peace, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know in the Game of Thrones world, it could go down at any moment. Hello, the Red Wedding, but. People are genuinely just out here having a good time right now. And so that was a really fun scene just to kind of balance everything out and level the expectations.
Yeah, I would say, in my opinion, I would say no. I would say that Dunk is probably quite used to being objectified. I would say that probably his night, while he needed someone. Maybe he needed companionship, and he was happy to have a son-like figure. Think about what that old man would have needed around, just like logistically, as someone big and strong and younger to help out. I'm talking just like brute strength. And I think that him just being bigger, not perceived, that's very smart. That just kind of goes in line with someone seeing him, grabbing him out the crowd. I need a big person to come help out. So I think that maybe it just was more symbolic of he can be a little bit, he's more than just kind of a big, like a big strong ox that can be put to work. His value is a little bit deeper than that, maybe.
So I'll be honest with you. I look at it differently. I look at it as he saw all that as a culmination of his validation, right?
That's what I was wondering.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a culmination of his validation. Like it was. He had no other context as to how to be a man, and then this man died, and then now he has to juxtapose what he sees as manhood to people who do not validate it. That's what I thought the writers were getting at when they wrote that scene.
Yeah, and I
Because
thought when he was hanging out with those
he had to
like,
fight,
other guys in the crew, like
he
we're
had to
all
fight to
night.
make somebody remember it.
Yeah, like we're all nights playing, doing tug of war with our squires. Like it's I'm in the crew. Like I'm in the crew.
Yeah, yeah. Like he had to fight for validation from people he did not know, and he had to and Egg said it. He goes, "This is undignified, right?" But it was important to him.
Mhm.
It was important to him to say, "No, I need you to remember this nigga here." That was a thing that, I mean, for me at least, it resonated at a point, but maybe it wasn't appropriate. But it's like, no, I see exactly where he was when he's like, he needed that validation that, hey, I admired somebody who was super important to me, and I thought they were this person. I need you to validate that they were also this person to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with that. I just the tug of war scene. I'm thinking that he would have got pulled to help win tug of war without someone vouching for him or not because he needed to they needed to win. So
So I'm gonna ask you guys some questions about a question about Egg. Why do you think he's doing this? He's slumming it for freedom, curiosity, education. Like, why do you think Egg is even doing all this in the first place?
I think he's bored and nobody's watching him. I really do. I don't think it's much more complicated than that. And if we're shooting at the 9 to 12 age range, yeah, he's bored
And he's
and
the youngest
nobody's
too.
watching
He's the
him.
youngest too.
yeah, he has minimum expectations. I mean, we
Right.
talk about this. We talk about the second son, the 4th
Mm-hmm.
son.
Mm-hmm.
It's what do all people of privilege do when they get bored? They go
Take a
slumming with
gap
the poor.
year. They take a gap year and go travel the world.
You just messing around.
I don't know what I want to do with myself. But
Yeah.
he is not without that royal upbringing. He's very savvy. He's very clever. And I think he wanted to see, can he do it? Can he get outside of the castle walls or from all of his handlers and have an adventure, right? I think this is just a young boy having an adventure. So he's not too far because he still is in riding distance for them to pop up at a tournament, right?
And
He's
I mean,
far enough, but not too far.
His brother was at the
I get you, but he's
end.
also really pretentious though. Like he does not let he always makes known his level of knowledge, his level of sophistication,
And
which
don't pick up on it,
maybe
which
is
is
an
why it
important thing.
works.
Well, right, but I'm saying that okay. Now I'm conflating from the story that's being told to the narrative of the show. They only have 10 episodes, right? And so they
6.
make it a point.
It's only 6.
They make it a okay. Well, that's even worse. They make it a point to have him make that decision to be arrogant, to be superfluous in those moments, to let everyone know that he knows more than you believe he knows. And so there has to be a greater good, at least I believe. There has to be a greater good to that. So there has to be a payoff. So for me, it's like if this is not what's the word I'm looking for? If they're not leaving trails for us to have a greater good for it to pay off, then it becomes pointless because the arrogance and the insightfulness seems to be intentional.
Well, he's still a Targaryen. He's still a royal kid, right? Who's grown up with the best instructors, tutors, maesters. He still is very educated. Um, and so I think we know, but Dunk isn't overly smart. And so he's not picking up on the cues. And I think that's why the dynamic works between them so very well, because um, Dunk is just a big Lutz, right? Who prioritizes other men's validation over everything, just so he can, go off on his own and try to make his own stamp on the world. So I think the fact that we know that this kid is very clever, came up with the best of everything, but poor Dunk hasn't even picked up on it. The light bulb hadn't come on yet. That's why it works, I think. So
And
No,
I think
that's a good point though. But
I think
one
the
second, Jennifer.
payoff.
A second, Jennifer. But that's a good point though. My question is, ultimately, is that for the viewer or is it for the character? Because we've already established that the character of Egg does things that Dunk doesn't pick up on, that us as the viewer picks up on. So my question is, do we think that that's the thing that the writers are doing for us as the consumers of the IP, or is that something done in character for the characters of the show? That's my question. I
So
apologize, Jennifer, please.
the answer is going to be only time will tell. We started last week with me saying I think they're overdoing the he's not smart aspect of it. I said I felt like overkill, and so I think that because the novella overall was short, I think that in 30-minute episodes they're just trying to really hone in on character personality type. The long-term payoff from the show is going to be Egg ultimately being really enriched and entrenched in the people, understanding the need, understanding what it's really like to be on the streets, understanding that, like, the actual life and walk of the people that serve him in the Seven Kingdoms. So I mean, that's the ultimate payoff long run. But I think that from a production standpoint, all of it is overkill. I mean, I'm saying that this could have arguably have been a movie. We could, we could have got 3 lines that would have shown Dunk was dumb, 4 lines that would have shown Egg is smart and witty, and then it just could have went on. Like, this could be a 2-hour movie for all intent purposes. So them breaking up such a short story, them breaking up this short novel in 30-minute increments, I think that what you're asking for, we'll know, season episode 6. Then you can say, it was all,
yeah,
it was
and
all
it's building a bridge. It's bridging the gap between the major stories, right? This is a short story, so it's giving face and nuance and context and texture to characters that we've heard about, right, in other parts of the series. So yeah, it could there could not be an answer to your question, Scott. And to Jennifer's point, maybe only time will tell. We'll find out in 4 more episodes, right?
Yeah. But I mean, they're somewhat connecting these to the House of the Dragon through Daeron Targaryen, who's having these dreams, these dragon dreams. And normally dragon dreams would mean you're getting a dragon. But since there is no dragons, is you just going crazy, basically. Which is a whole different aspect. That's why a lot of these different Targaryens are go crazy, because they have they basically are wanting, it's like their body needs to mount up with a dragon, but there is no dragon for you to mount up with. So therefore you're just having these feverish dreams and going crazy.
Yeah.
And that's Daeron on the show. If you see him, he's all flustered, face all, even Egg was like, man, I think my dad might have paid for him basically to be in this tournament. Remember, he was like, oh, and remember Dunk was like, yeah, I think he's probably one of the best. He's like, I think he didn't say my dad. He just said, from what I know, I don't think he just made it on his own. Like, I think it was a hookup for him to be in here. So it's just Egg is so funny to me, because it's like he it's like he knew that this is the type of person that's only gonna better get this ruse through. Of like anybody else is gonna dime me out.
Yeah,
immediately.
Yeah,
this guy.
Remember how Tywin knew right away that Arya Stark was a girl.
Yep.
And also by the way she spoke, he said, "Hey, it's my lord." Lowborn say my lord, highborn say my lord. You know, don't get caught. I already
Tywin is like, hold on,
yeah.
like
they know.
I was like, yeah.
He put that shit out. He put that shit out his ass immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Without reservation.
This one's a girl. You didn't know that, did you? Yeah.
And look at everybody like, yo, y'all heard some sucker shit.
What family you from? Like,
what set you rep?
Yeah. And you better not be one of the ones we beefing with either.
Yeah.
So for the next episode, Jen, what do you want to see in the next episode?
I want to see Duncan finally pick up a sword and fight. Like he gave a pretty powerful kind of speech there at the end. That retrospective speech, it was strong. You know, and it kind of speaks a little bit to what Scott said earlier. You know, just him trying to it sounded like he just needed to really just kind of take ownership of maybe who he is, and for it to all make sense. You know, his knight's sacrifice to kind of help him from nothingness, and so he has a lot to prove, even if only one person remembers. What's his name, sir? Sir Alan.
Arlen.
Arlen. You know, even if only one person remembers Sir Arlen, Duncan needs to prove himself. So I hope we start to see that in the third episode, some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, because Sir Arlen is the main one. That's his guy. The Hitch Knight. What about you, Bethany?
I want to see if I'm ready for the world building to stop. I'm ready for the action, and I too want to see, is Duncan the Tall going to be Ferdinand the Bull or Genghis Khan? I gotta find out. Can he fight? I want to know.
Well, I mean, he's from Flea Bottom now. You know, they scrapping over there.
Right. So I'm ready to get to it. We got 4 more episodes left. Let's see what it's about. And that's all I've got.
I mean, he basically took out that whole team in the tug of war for Baratheon. Like, he literally went to get a drink, and he knew, because he knew it was good. He was like, "Oh, I got old boy on my
thirsty. I'm thirsty."
And he was taking his time. He was sitting there talking to somebody, drinking.
Having a whole conversation.
Yeah, it's like, man, what y'all want to do after this? Like,
what about poor Ed threw his whole body on the rope?
Just light as a feather. Just got dragged right along, poor kid. That was the best spot for him, actually. Get your feet out off the ground so we don't hurt you. Okay, get them on up there.
All right, what about you, Scott? What do you want to see next episode?
Well, listen, fundamentally, I'm a Star Wars guy. So much so that my sister, who's on this call, middle name is Princess Leia's middle name. It's not a joke, it's an absolute fact. So I want him to be fucking awesome. I want awesomeness to be the thing of the day. I don't want to see you grow and struggle. I want you to be the guy that I expect you to be and do the thing I expect you to be, ultimately. So if we only got 6 episodes, he gotta be more badass. Stop being a sucker.
That's real. All right, we will be back with episode 3 soon. We will see everybody.